And welcome to the Gotham Outsiders, our third annual Pride celebration. I am your host, Bad Obsessive Chris, and with me, as always, is my co-host, TJ.
Hello, everyone. I am your Chris proclaimed Batman Talon, and we are back with our DC Pride celebration panel with some amazing guests.
Yes, we have a variety of stories featured today through all of your many contributions. Could we go around and introduce ourselves with pronouns and say what stories you worked on and what role you had in the process? Starting with Andrew.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Drilon. I am an independent cartoonist from the Philippines, and this is my second time. This is my second project for DC Comics, so I'm pretty much a super newbie here. I worked on the story Lost and Found with writer Jeremy Holt. I was the penciler, inker, colorist for that one, and I'm super proud to be here. And super honored to be here with you guys. I'm over the moon. Thank you for having me.
Yay! We're so glad to have you.
Coming. Yeah.
Alan, can you introduce yourself next, please?
Howdy, y'all. I'm A.L. Kaplan. I'm Alan if you're nasty. Pronouns he, him. I wrote and drew the story Subspace Transmission, which was lettered by the fantastic Aditya Bidikar and edited by Pride powerhouses Andrea Shea and Jillian Grant. It's the dimension-hopping team-up between Rodeo Glam, Still Force Conduit, Jules Rodin, codename Circuit Breaker, and Earth 11's Fastest Ride, a.k.a. Future State Flash, Just Chambers.
So you said Alan if you're nasty?
I did like that.
Breaking the ice.
Hayden, I think H comes next in the alphabet.
No guarantee, but for now it does.
Yeah, whatever we're working with. Hayden Sherman worked on the story Love's Lightning Heart, which I had to pull up to remember exactly what that was. Yeah, really? Oh, cool. Yeah, I've got my copy right here. I was the penciler inker on that. It was written by Grant Morrison and colored by Marissa. And Aditya Bidikar also lettered this one and edited by Jessica Chen. And crazy cosmic queer love story of just epic Grant Morrison cosmic proportions. And I don't know what else. So that is me.
I am the last to go. Marissa, hello. I'm a colorist. I colored Love Lightning Heart. And I was able to remember that, so that's good.
Love it.
Yes, Marissa, this is your third time?
Yeah,
You've been in every anthology so far.
I think so. I'm very lucky. Like, I have a good relationship with the editors. And like, I feel extra special because, like, as a bisexual woman, we can take up a lot of space. And so I'm glad that they feel like I am taking up an appropriate amount of space. And I like that a lot.
If you keep getting asked back, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Doing good work, though.
Yes, you are.
Oh, everybody's stuff looks so great. This issue really was quite spectacular.
I agree.
And Alan, yours was really great. Everybody's was really great.
Mm-hmm. This one really raised the bar. They've all been good, but this one was incredible. I agree.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's just start right at the beginning of the anthology. We're going to start with Hayden and Marissa. I guess we need to ask probably what everyone is wondering. What was it like working with comics legend Grant Morrison? What was it like adapting that script for the page? And was this process in this specific book different from your previous jobs you've done?
That's an interesting question. It was different in that I feel like sometimes I love, and I've always loved it, All-Star Superman being an all-time favorite of mine. And specifically their run of Green Lantern was what got me into Green Lantern to begin with. So getting to from the beginning, it being an offshoot Green Lantern flashlight was already really cool. But then when the script came in for it, I had this moment of oh man, their stories are really confusing and very dense, and there's lots of subtext and layering going on that they're already doing, and having to read that only as word with no visual substance was A lot to unpack. I feel like I had this experience where I had gone through the process of laying it out and drawing it and everything. And Grant is so kind the whole time, like just talking through everything and working together with the whole process. But I didn't feel like I fully understood the story until I had finished drawing it. And I was like, oh, that's what we were making. And it was fun. It was fun like finding it and as it went until it was a finished product. Yeah, it was very different. It was good though.
It comes to me in a lot more formed clay. I'm basically doing the firing. Like I don't have to form the clay. I just make sure it survives the kiln. You know what I'm saying?
Love it. Love the metaphor.
But it was also a like really beautiful coincidence because when I got the email, I had like just left a museum, an art museum in Dublin. And so I had been looking at like a lot of the things that were sort of talked around in the book, like art that drew from similar ideas. So as soon as I got some time, I just like tried to hash out some visual ideas that I could draw from and see if I could like enhance anything.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Had the two of you worked together previously, and what's something you liked about collaborating with each other?
I don't think we have we?
I feel like you colored a pitch for a book that I was doing with Chris Sabella a while ago.
Oh, you're right.
Right?
I was
for Blink, I think.
I was gonna do Blink, but then
that was forever ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I was like, I couldn't remember. Yeah. Nick Filardi ended up doing that though, and Nick Filardi is just really an incredible colorist. So that book looked awesome.
But to like turn that back around and just keep wild praise on you though, like, this was such a great experience though, because like right out the gate you came in with like the whole like rainbow palette, like going through the whole thing, and it was great getting to talk that through, and like we tweaked it a little bit here and there, but like your whole core concept is still like on display in it, and it works beautifully. So hopefully this is just the first of many to come. Or I'll take whatever I can get, really.
Because I had a lot of like your foundational design of the pages is like it clicks right in with my brain. So I think that was already a good start, and having just like already been looking at those reference images, and like I think I was pretty clear in what Grant was trying to communicate from the get-go, which is why I wanted to go through that rainbow, is like that idea of light, so it's like to me it was the concept of taking a burden off yourself, but also like light refracted through a prism and the different stages of life. So I sort of wanted to, that's why I was using the rainbow, not just because of Pride, but specifically because of the way it light refracts and the like sort of metaphysical meanings of that.
That's brilliant.
I don't know how well that stuff translates, but
well, I think it works on that level and the Pride level, and also like I think this is the first time Grant introduced that light or flashlight can like key into all these different parts of the spectrum. So it's like working on a bunch of levels. I feel like.
That's so cool.
Chris, would you like to make your joke?
Oh my god, I can't believe you brought that up just now. I jokingly said that I read it as fleshlight for like
yeah, exactly.
You're not alone.
Yeah, and
Pride Month.
That was in the opening line of Grant's script, was that like one has to type like very consciously so not to like send fleshlight to the other person. So yeah, we're all.
That's so funny. I'm glad we're all in the same gutter.
Right. Under DC Wiki, it'll say like alias, fleshlight, like under nicknames. Yeah. Let's make it happen. Well, thank you both for shedding some light on adapting that script. Shedding some light.
Oh, and I just want to shout out Aliza again, because he really like he and I had some side chats about how the lettering would work, and like we had some chats that didn't quite pan out about the title. Like we just couldn't make our schedules match to work on it together, but we had plans to work on it together. But we did, like I sent him basically a thumbnail of my palette, and so part of why the lettering looks so good with that color is because he was thinking about it very clearly and has such
That's
a
so
great
cool.
aesthetic eye.
Oh, what a
Nice.
dream team.
Well, we're gonna focus on our newbie, Andrew. We're so excited that you're here with us.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. We wanted to ask, this character's name, is it Xanthi or Exanthe? What would you guys say?
I honestly don't know. I would say Santi. That's what I say.
Xanthi.
But
Okay, cool. I'm going with that.
I haven't spoken to Jess or Jeremy, editor Jess Chen, or the writer about it. So like verbally, I don't know what it sounds like.
All right, that was not your official question. I was figured I'd shoot my shot and ask because we were talking about it earlier. But we wanted to ask, Xanthi is teaming up with Batwoman was a brilliant duo idea. How did that crossover concept come about? And like the sexual tension was crackling.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was tapped for the project, the script had already been written. So, I came in with just this beautiful, wonderful script that was full of nuance and subtlety by Jeremy Holt. And I just sort of dug into it. I got some references because I think at the point at which I was working on it, Santi's book, Spirit World, hadn't been released yet. So, editor Jess Chen just sent me the first issue. I was blown away by the character. They operate out of Gotham City.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the first issue of Spirit World actually has a crossover with Cassandra Cain, Batgirl.
Yes.
Right. So I think it just seemed to make sense to have Santi cross over with another member of the Bat family, and one who I feel is one of the iconic LGBTQ DC characters. Because of all the good work that Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams had done on Batwoman in like the past decade or so. So yeah, I just dug into it, and what I really enjoyed about the story was, Jeremy writes with so much thoughtful subtlety. So it was like my responsibility to kind of bring that to the fore. There's a lot of acting going on in the comic, and a lot of they never really say anything overtly flirty to each other, but there's something that's palpable. You can kind of feel it in the way their bodies angle towards each other, or their facial expression. So I tried to get a lot of that in there, and it was just a really good time.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely your art conveyed the tension between them very well.
I
So
agree.
was that the goal of the script then, to make us, read into that, or was that something that you really just felt while reading it and leaned into?
Well, I think when any artist gets a script, there's I always think of it as like a totem pole of priorities. It's whatever you respond to as a creator. You give the same script to 18 different artists, I feel like it'll look different and cool in multiple different ways, right? But I really responded to Santi's character struggle throughout the story, which is they're trying to find the home, they're trying to find a place. They feel like they have no place where they really belong or have a purpose. Right. And the character arc of that as it moves through, and I kind of tried to fold it in with the colors too, because I did a lot of I did the colors as well. So I feel like Batwoman comes in like a shot into all that rumination, and it's really exciting. I was able to I had little nods to J.H. Williams' work. There's a page in the middle of the story where the panel work turns into a Batwoman bat.
Yes, I loved that. I caught that too.
And that for me was total just worshiping at the altar of J.H. Williams.
Yes.
Who I want to grow up to be, because he's such an amazing artist and so inspiring.
Yeah.
But also I feel half the comic is Santi's, and then it becomes a Batwoman comic for a few pages, and then a proper crossover. They kind of meld into each other and become a true team up by the end of it, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely
I think
does.
so. Yeah, by the end I was like, oh, I want more of this. When is the next team up? So
I do want more of
Hopefully
them.
soon. Yeah, it was so
They're a good
good.
team. They have great chemistry.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like you said, Batwoman's so iconic, and like Xanthi is so new, but I feel is going to be like just as iconic sooner than later.
I agree.
So, well, anyway, you did a fantastic job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And then I'm gonna tackle Alan, since I'm what was the word again? Gross.
Nasty.
Nasty.
Nasty. Okay, see, I'm gross and nasty, so we're all good. So Alan, last time we talked, we asked about Circuit Breaker's continuing story and where it could be headed, and you got the chance to add to that here. So what were your goals with this story in terms of Julian's character arc?
Yeah, I'm fascinated kind of with all of this, reading back through the Flash backlog to try to create this character within that group. So it really struck me like not only how the conduits of the various forces feel connected to each other, but how their connection to the powers changes their perception of reality and like how living in that altered state affects them as people. So in Subspace Transmission, I kind of wanted to explore Jules' interior experience, now that he's has the powers and has kind of stuck with them. So a little bit of it's, I knew I had the two stories going in. So the first one is just intro the character. The second one, okay, finish that foundation and maybe like put in some little things that future writers could take off with, or, theoretically they could just interpret totally differently and do whatever they want. But yeah, really just looking at like who Jules is, who Circuit Breaker is, and it's my first time. I mainly write and draw my own stuff, so it's my first time creating a character outside of a larger narrative. It's just create this toy that goes in a box, and that I think that was a big challenge for like when you're writing for yourself. You have to know all this stuff. Like if your character's an iceberg, all the stuff under the water that doesn't ever get put into the page, but it is the backstory that that helps define their motivations and all this sort of stuff and who they are. And so it was a bit of a challenge for me to, like anything that's not on page doesn't exist. And, the reader won't know it and the next writers won't know it. So it's not canon to the character, and just picking and choosing, okay, what was important to me about this that I want to get on page, and what do I let go of and, let, be collaboratively told through whoever gets the character next. And hopefully did that without being slamming too much in the reader's face, but we'll see.
Yeah. That was amazing. I loved that story so much.
Thank you.
So Andrew and Alan, you both are playing with sort of newer indie characters in the DC world with Xanthi, Julian, and Jess. Was there more or less pressure tackling these newer characters? And did you have any chats with previous writers? Obviously not for Julian, since you are the previous writer, but any other previous writers or creators beforehand?
Want me to start? I'll start.
Sure, go for it.
So so this is my second DC project.
Yeah.
So there was like a lot of pressure just from the feeling of like still feeling like I'm a newbie, and I've written and drawn my own comics since I was in high school, but feeling being in like a mainstream publication, something I bought in past years on my own and not thinking I'd ever be in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was like such a huge feeling for me, and like DC Pride for me is such a big deal because so many of my favorite creators are a part of it. I also, like, as a gay man, it's such a huge thing for I really care about the cause. I grew up in the Philippines, and it wasn't always like the friendliest environment to LGBTQ people. So I really think a book like this is so important. So yes, there was like a lot of pressure, but it also came with deadlines. And the deadlines really helped force me to just hunker down and get it done right. And one of the things I really enjoyed about this is the research part, because it gave me a great excuse to just go back and read a bunch of comics that I loved, like the Batwoman stuff. Again, J.H. Williams. I Googled to the original designs that Alex Ross did when he introduced Batwoman in like the DC 52 series.
Oh, that's so cool.
And like Gotham City, like I had a scene which was in Gotham City Cemetery, and I'm like, how do I draw this? I don't have that much space. And there have been so many beautiful versions of the cemetery, like throughout. In the end, I just did what was most functional. But
Yeah,
um,
it was great. It was honestly so gorgeous.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, there was a lot of pressure, but I'm really proud with how it came out. Yeah, the pressure just forced me to work harder on it, and I hope the love and care I put into it shows.
Absolutely. How about for you, Alan?
In Subspace Transmission, we really, we're talking about like what to do with the story and who the team up was going to be. We ended up kind of loving the idea of Jess just popping out of the time stream when Jules is in crisis, kind of like Barry Allen has done. And so doing that kind of echo of a established character, it's cute or whatever, but it also kind of helps me establish to the reader that Jess, like, while being relatively new in the DCU, is a seasoned and powerful hero. Because I mean, this is future state Jess, so like they're an adult, they're on the Justice League, all this stuff, and that was it was a fun chance to give this character some page space of them on their own, because mainly they've just been in big team books. And besides the Pride shorts, which have been also doing kind of the same sort of character work, and it's a small story and it's kind of fuzzy in the continuity or whatever, but it was nice to kind of just at least have Jess talking a little bit about their experience in tiny ways, and maybe being like additive in a tiny way there. And I think the tricky thing with Jess for me coming into this, and a lot of readers that I've heard from, is just the character has two different storylines and two different timelines and two different dimensions, and neither of those are Prime Earth. And that is difficult for the character, I think.
Absolutely.
But it also leaves a lot of space to fill in. And like, we don't have the story of how, this kid ended up being an adult in future state. That's not there yet. So there's a lot of room to kind of like play in and like add small things to this character's story. And it was pretty cool to be a part of that. Mainly it was my own research and talking with the editors, who are big champions of this character, and kind of gave some general vibes and their feelings. Ivan Cohen did reach out to me when the first press release came out, mainly just to like give his blessings. I was like, oh, you're writing the essay, but it was nice for me to see the affection that the creator had. I was not expecting that. And yeah, it was just kind of, cute to be like, oh, you actually like do kind of, care enough about this, but like when you see that, handled by someone else, you're like, oh, a child.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Ivan's great. Him and Danny, we talked to last year. They were both wonderful. So I'm gonna start with a general question now for everyone. Feel free to jump in. All of your stories are extremely different, but what themes do you think that your story or stories were trying to comment on in terms of queerness or pride? Because I feel like each of these stories somehow is commenting on those themes, obviously.
If it's okay for me to jump in, I think the thing that occurs to me, I hadn't really thought of it in that specific terms. The whole time I was making it, it's just like, it is this giant display of affection and passion for Flashlight to go completely out of his way to do this wild thing and I don't know if we want to, is it okay to get into spoilers here?
Yes.
Are we?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
away.
cool. Yeah, to completely resurrect and simultaneously save and resurrect the man that he loves. Like all of that, it's this big display of affection. And I think part of that, in the way that I chose to draw it, looking back, there's a certain amount of cutting through the noise that's part of that. Like everything, all the environments, especially as soon as we launch into space, become very dense and or this, that, or the other thing. They just consume the page with all of this great in detail and just stuff happening. But the focus of it is always within the environment. There's one green man that really wants to save the red man that he loves, and he's gonna get from point A to point B no matter what. And I think actually the way that Marissa colors there's the page where Flashlight is like barreling down into the monument planet, and he's just like this green line cutting through the atmosphere, coming down there to save. Like, I think that kind of illustrates that. It's just like as far as Flashlight is concerned, like none of this shit matters. Like get out of my way, go aside. Okay, so yeah, I'm getting old. I don't care. Like I go here, go there, go there. Like I need to get some flowers and the embodiment of nothing. None of that really matters. It's all just like checklist stuff so that he can get back to Red Racer. So cutting through the noise, I feel like was a big thing, and like just focusing and zeroing in on the person that matters to you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Anything to add to that, Marissa? No pressure.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, you got me worked up.
Oh,
Just a sweet way to describe it.
Aw.
I mean, for me, one of the things is, and I think I cry every time we do one of these. So
you do, but that's
no.
okay.
No,
I
I'm
cry on this show
sensitive.
all the
Mm.
time, Marissa. You're good.
we're in a really weird time right now. And I think we're in a time where showing queer joy is going to be more vital than it's ever been, because like I mean, one, you can't let the bastards get you down, but two, like it's a way to show safety to future generations, you know? So having a story where it is just somebody in love and not misery porn, you know, that stuff is really important and more vital than it's ever been. I mean, like, we don't have to get like super twee about everything, because it's still like life is hard. You go through different stages and you have different trials, but like, you know, just having it be normal is, and that range of emotions, I think, is one of the themes of this one. And I think one of the things of why it did so well, because you know, things tend to swing too hard in one direction or the other. And this I know the editors work very hard to make sure everybody on the book is queer and that a range of experiences is represented. And that's why you get this like range of feelings, but it also just being normal.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
that's what it means to me.
Well,
Yeah.
well, for you, Alan or Andrew, either one of you.
Yeah. How did your story explore themes of pride or queerness?
I mean, I like.
Go, Andrew.
Oh, please.
I don't know. For me, it's never enough in this stuff to, just have someone who's visibly queer on panel, right? I want to give space to get in their mind and show how, for example, living outside the gender binary or undergoing physical gender transition, like how that affects your perception of everything, every part of the world, your understanding of yourself in it, how you interface with that, and, among everything else. So of course, it's framed talking about powers, right? Because it's a superhero story. But, through that sort of metaphor, you get looking into, like Jules's mind and his experience. And, for queer people, how we experience the world through whatever aspect of queerness we have, it's really different and really unique and can be really difficult. And I think that giving that space makes it more than just kind of tokenism, and gives a chance for like actual, why have diverse writers is you're going to get diverse stories. And I think that like that's a really cool opportunity. And then too, looking at the okay, so the character team up I have is someone who's living, whatever, like 20 years in the future, of the main timeline. And that gives an excuse to so at the end, they're, at some club in, 2040 future state timeline. And that's just okay, we can show some of the queer characters that we've had existing into the future and being 20 years older and just still there. And that I'm in my mid-30s, so I'm the kind of generation where a lot of queer elders were lost to AIDS, and not having so many people, like this whole cadre of people that were just lost that I don't see. And so it's important to me to just show no, it's not just young people. There are people get older and we're still here, and just showing that with characters that maybe didn't make it into this year's anthology was kind of to me, felt like a fun, cute nod to end it that way.
Oh, that was really beautiful.
Yeah, Chris and I both especially loved your last page, I believe, where everyone's dancing, and just it looked so genuine, and what pride is, in terms of the leather, and you don't see that a lot in the mainstream.
Yeah,
of
it
what
was like
Pride is.
it was very queer looking, and I don't know, we
Yes.
appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, I got a lot of leather in there, and I'm excited that no one told me no. But
We were
Yeah.
too. We were like celebrating it.
in general too, it was like what Marissa said about queer joy. This was I was a little sad once I wrote it. I was like, man, I think Jules got like one smile on the last page, and that's like,
Yeah.
it would be nice to have a story where this character can be a little bit more joyful instead of just kind of angsty, but so like at least ending on a note to show like, no,
Yeah.
maybe things will be fun. Felt more appropriate to me, but like, yeah, once I was done writing, I was like, oh, just angst. Oops.
No, it was a good moment to end on. And I have to ask, is the Ceary the winged person in the crowd?
Yes.
Oh, we thought so.
Yes.
Good. We
We
thought
thought
so.
so. I was like, who else has wings and kind of looks like that?
It is fun
So-
because it's basically all of the DC NBs on a one page almost
Right.
entirely, right? And that was really exciting to see for me too, as an NB myself.
Yeah, it was fun to kind of figure out how to age him up, but also make him recognizable. But also, I'm drawing him in, club gear and in my style. So it's like,
Oh, we
even if
recognize.
it's
We were
more of an
shouting out.
Easter egg. It's maybe kind of, hopefully they're recognizable, but
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
communicating
They
as
were
well.
for sure.
So canon, they're alive 20 years from now. They can't
Yes.
kill them off.
Yeah.
Never. They would never do that. Okay. Now that we've cleared that up, thank you.
And Andrew, how
Andrew.
about for you? Yeah.
Yeah, how does your story explore themes of queerness or pride or both?
Well, it's called Lost and Found, and I do like what Hayden said about cutting through the noise. And I feel like in the story, Santi's kind of a little lost in their own internal noise, and what I liked about the story, I think the theme that really stuck to me was this idea of like, well, so Santi's a character who is not just non-binary, but they're also like alive and dead at the same time.
Mhm.
So they're literally a character who tends to straddle worlds, and I feel like that's such a great metaphor for like a modern queer person. You know what I mean? Where you're not quite sure where you fit in, labels, maybe not always completely descriptive of who you are, and as much as you're exploring. It may not feel as secure and as well defined as what you might see from other people, right? And I really liked that the story is just about Santi connecting with another, queer person, and finding their own confidence in that through that interaction, through the action and the little flirting, and then talking about some of their issues. I honestly feel like, one of the major things about Pride is the feeling of community, the feeling that you're not alone. It's so easy, especially today with social media and like computers and remote calls and all that stuff. Like, it's so easy to feel isolated and alone. It's so easy to get lost in your own head. And Pride is where we celebrate together. And where we actually connect and talk to each other and listen to each other. And I think that's one of the things that really affects me about seeing a book like this in reality, and being a part of this. Like, again, I keep saying I'm like a broken record. I'm so honored to be here, but like I really have no other way of explaining it. I just have to overstate that. It's so great to feel like you're part of a community, so yeah.
Absolutely.
And you've earned it. You've earned your spot.
Yes.
You did amazing work.
Absolutely. So do any of you have favorite moments from your stories you'd like to share, one you are particularly proud of or you're personally a fan of?
It can be like a narrative thing or a panel visually, whatever means something to you.
I'll start. I had the first page of my story, Lost and Found, has like a huge splash with a lot of cats.
Yes.
Yeah. Jeremy really hooked me up with that one.
I loved
Yeah.
it.
I love drawing cats.
That's been shared all over Twitter. I see it all the time.
But what I don't think a lot of people, they might not notice it, is like I threw a lot of little references to like the Chinese side of the DC universe lore. So there's like little references here to the Great Ken, which is
Ooh.
the Republic of China super team.
Yeah.
There's like references to Thundermind, and a lot of little hidden Easter eggs. Like I'm just really happy I got to like throw a lot of things in there, which the script didn't necessarily ask for, but it seemed like a great place to do it. And
So
if anyone
cool.
wants to go over it, it's a little
Yeah.
treat.
I love that. I really do. I can't say enough how you kind of showing the Chinatown of Gotham is such a big deal. I think that was really cool.
For me, I had set myself up for a really big puzzle that I wanted the last page to be like pure light and rainbow.
Yeah.
That's actually a very hard thing to do. And it took me quite a bit of time to figure out how to resolve the big trap I had set up for myself. But I'm really happy with it. I think it reads as a rainbow. I think it reads as full of light, and I think it reads as like really beautiful. So
Yeah.
And of course, thank you again, Hayden, for always setting me up with something I can work with.
Goodness. And Alan should go before me, but I mean, my thing is also that panel, so I'll get to that later.
I'll be the dramatic tension between
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, maybe I didn't push things far enough because no one told me no on anything. But I really had fun kind of feeding in some silly shit. So if DC ever wants me back, I'd love to have Jules taking the Gorilla Grodd of Earth 11 to the Central City Eagle and just having some leather bar fun there. Maybe that's
yes.
I enjoyed getting that in there.
Next year's Pride Anthology.
Right. You didn't get a no this time, so you can just keep pushing. See how far you can go.
Yeah. So Hayden, did you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, it's the same, that last page, specifically the second to last panel, because I think the whole thing, like I've drawn a fair bit of like actually probably most of what I've done at this point is sci-fi. I've spent like 5 years drawing like sci-fi and horror and things like that. So I feel very comfortable in my element there. But there's not a whole lot of kissing in in books like that where people are like things. And I really wanted like this moment of intimacy where they've like finally joined to actually feel very intimate. And to be like not just two faces that are close, but like a real kiss. Like they're taking each other in, they're enjoying like being able to touch one another again after however long it's been. And I don't know, seeing, I think like I'd drawn it, I felt good about it. I was like, okay, yes, like it's colored. I'm like, looks great. Okay, I think it's good. And then I was seeing like people start putting it as like their Twitter icons or whatever, and I was like, okay, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
And that made me very happy. So
and when we covered the book, we definitely talked about those panels, those last two panels being our favorite part of the whole story. So we're right there with you.
Good. Yeah, my favorite part too. So I'm happy.
Oh, yeah, definitely mission accomplished. You both pulled it off. It was great.
Yeah, that was a hard assignment. You both did great with it.
Yeah, no, literally, that's why I was trying to think of what do I want to ask these people about the stories, and I was like, how did you adapt this script?
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
So we kind of touched on this a little bit already, but we wanted to ask everyone, what is it like getting to be a part of such a monumental issue? What does it mean to you as a creator or also as a fan to have your name in this anthology?
I mean, again, for me, like I've done this a bunch of times. I know the editors stand behind us. I know this was totally editor driven. I know they're not going to back down about this stuff. Like I cannot emphasize that enough. That this is not like, it's not exploitation. They really are shooting for the moon here, and they're trying to drive open spaces, and they're trying to bring in queer creators into the DC fold, and when a lot of people are backing off that stuff, I think it's awesome that we completely sold out in the first week. And I know a lot of that has to do with the editor's ability to source talent. It has to do with like everybody throwing their whole heart into this. So it means the world to me every year.
Yeah. I went into one of my local comic shops and I'm buying DC Pride, and he's like, who is going to buy this when they're putting it for free on the app, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna buy like every cover. So anyway, so I'm like, people are buying this, like,
And then they did.
yeah, and then it sold out. So, but that was great. That I'm really glad that you brought up it not being exploitive, Marissa. I think that's important right now.
And I geek out about other people's work for a second.
Please.
So like Love's Lightning Heart. So Grant Morrison is probably my favorite author. But Hayden, like I'd seen your work before in, I think you did like a story for Legion of Bloom, like a Batman
Oh
story.
yeah.
Yeah. But here it was just so dense and gorgeous. And the panel that made me laugh was when we met Inframan.
Okay.
And Inframan has this like ridiculous, like super 90s costume, which is just like, intimidating and awesome and crazy at the same time. And Marissa, how you handle that page where it's like the color drops out. And it's very desaturated. And you know, sometimes it's hard to make things read when it's like that, but it looks so good. And it reads so well despite, like, you know, all the panel work. So I really love that. And then Alan, the page where Circuit Breaker meets Jess, and there's this upside down shot that is so iconic, and I love how the energy is drawn. Like, you know, there's this big theme of energy in your story, and the colors, you know, just sell it so well, but also like just the big shapes throughout. It's so great because it describes not just like, you know, what's going on, but also like it feels like their personality a little bit. So
Yeah.
anyway, sorry.
Thank you.
No, don't be sorry. This is the celebration. So
Yes, I love
we're here
it.
to celebrate everyone's work. I love that you're such a fan.
Yeah, I think Marissa was you talking about having or maybe Hayden having a green guy looking for a red guy, and I was like, oh, it's good when you have those contrasting colors. I had, you know, green and purple in the first one, and this one was, you know, kind of green and red. So you get to just like, all right, got a contrast. I'm gonna make them a, you know, sorry
love
to
it.
the professional colorist here. I was gonna make my colors as obnoxious as possible.
No, I think
It's
you
kinda
I think you
fun.
did a really I was really, when I saw your pages, I was really impressed by how well you balanced it, because it's very easy to get those really saturated colors look real tacky, but everything was read beautifully. It was very balanced. So great
Oh,
job.
I love this.
Everybody did a great job. It was
a love fest, and I love it.
Yeah.
it was a really
Aw.
special to get a copy of it and
Yeah.
flip through it and enjoy the art and get excited for everyone.
Yeah, and on a very similar to like Andrew, what you've been saying of like, you know, your second gig with DC and how monumental that is. Like, I've only been working with DC now, like I'm thankful that it's been pretty consistent, but over like a year and a half, like, so it's not been the longest time. It feels very like oh God, like anytime like if somebody comes to me with a project or something, like it's just, it like knocks me off my feet. And I'm just like, I finish one, I'm like, oh well, that was great, it's never gonna happen again. And yeah, right. And like I remember, what was it, like doing my first Batman pages, it was like 3 pages for a fill-in. I was like, I'll never get to draw him again, but mission accomplished. And getting to like now at this point get to like invited in to work with Grant and Marissa and Aditya and Jess Chen more and everything, like it was, I mean, it came out of nowhere for me, and I think I'm still kind of getting used to the fact that it like is a physical thing that we made and exists and
Yeah.
people are reading. It feels like a bit of a fever dream if I think too much about it. So it's great. And again, to like everybody's been saying, it really is just absolutely gorgeous. I wish we had everybody here so we could just all like gush to each other about everything that everybody did.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about queer joy, and I'm like, I feel your joy right now. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. So speaking of queer things that bring us joy, the queer DC family keeps growing every year. You know, we've got Tim, and we've got Connor Hawk, and we've got John Kent. What character do you predict or hope will come out next?
I'm telling you, Gorilla Grodd of Earth 11 at the Central City Eagle for DC Pride 2024.
I am here for Gorilla Grodd as part of the queer community.
I know. Who are your hope? My hope. I'm pretty open about this. Alan, I can't remember if we got into this. I'm wanting Connor Kent so Tim Drake can get a beef boyfriend. And he's gonna get an upgrade. Let's shade at Bernard.
I mean, I always felt vibes between like Connor and Tim, especially during
Thank
Jeff
you.
Johns' like Titans run.
Yes.
Part of it.
Right?
See, Andrew, you're invited
Andrew's on our
back.
team. Yeah, I was gonna say, Andrew, you gotta come back and talk Tim Con with us.
But that's my hope. I probably wouldn't predict that he would be the next one to come out, but it's my hope. Anyone else have any hopes or ideas?
Who's in the closet? Who
Hmm.
you know, which characters
like-
have
I feel like the person that like I thought, and this like before we knew about Tim, the Robin that I thought would be Jason.
I know,
Uh,
right?
Because
Yeah.
it just feels like at all times he's holding so much back that I feel like I've always read into that a level of like there's something waiting to be uncorked whenever he feels like the time is right and things that like will give him a little bit of peace. I mean, he's got a lot to work out, but among those things, it always feels like there's something there. But I
And
don't know.
him and Roy, like, that's not a no homo situation.
You're so right. Oh man, you're very right about this.
Okay, Hayden, you have to come back and talk to us about Jason and Roy then.
Oh, happily.
Yeah, when Tim came out, I was like, oh, this means we have one queer Robin. Jason won't come out now. We already have one. And someone said to me, like, well, all the Batman villains are queer, all the women. Why can't all of the Robins also be queer?
Yeah,
It's like,
this is
you know
how I'm
what?
feeling.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
I
how I
mean,
feel about and like my family of like my siblings and stuff, where it's like, all right, like there's like I come from a family with a lot of siblings, and
mhm.
like slowly one by one, it's like another queer one. And like there can be more than one queer sibling. So among
They're
the
great.
Robin,
There
you know.
our agenda on the show is it's by Jason, by Dick, by Tim, and then asexual Damien. That's my like agenda.
And Stephanie. We just got
And
lesbian Stephanie.
Stephanie
on,
is
Gotham
bisexual
Knights.
on Gotham Knights, so I'm counting that as official.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace,
So-
Gotham Knights.
Yes.
Aw.
Any other hopes or dreams of queer characters? Characters being queered, I should say.
You guys know I'm super bad about this. I work so much in comics, I don't have time
Oh, that's okay.
to read them. I just
Okay.
bought a book that is 10 years old to read, and I still haven't opened it.
What is
That's-
it though? I gotta know. What's your 10-year-old TBR?
I just got Luther Strode.
Oh
And
my god.
I still haven't read it, but I just got it last week finally.
Scrag
That's
more
so
art
funny.
any day.
So we're going great over here.
Do you have
That's-
do you have
that's
Silver
so-
Age characters that you want to be queer, Marissa? Then like, what?
Look, here's
There's
my
a
thing.
DC character. This
Let me tell you
classic-
about Alan Scott.
Yeah, Alan Scott seems a little gay to me.
Here.
There's this
I
Flash
think-
villain called Raider. His name is Roy G. Bivolo. I
Oh
always
my god,
wonder.
so real.
Yeah. It's like from the 1980s, but you know.
I
Yeah,
like that. I like it.
Yeah, if we're gonna get real specific and granular, specifically Gil Kane, Green Lantern. I
Mm.
get very, very. He's there's more to him than meets the eye.
Yeah,
There's some-
yeah. Honestly, yes, a lot of the Grand Lanterns got something going on. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Why has I suffer a similar affliction as Marissa, where I'm constantly reading old. I'm horribly out of date.
It's fair.
So have any of the Green Lanterns that are dudes or identify as dudes, have they become Pink Lanterns at any point and had to wear the whole Pink Lantern getup? Because
Oh,
last I
don't know.
checked, they haven't. But they should. Like the fact that Kyle Rayner hasn't worn the pink.
I'm
Like,
just saying.
I
If
feel
anybody
like
could get
somebody
away
was
with it.
telling me about one recently, but
Yeah.
I don't
Looking
have
it up
enough
right now.
recollection.
Hal wore all the rings at some point, right? That was the whole joke of the
Yeah.
run.
Ooh.
right? Yeah, but
So he
did
was pink at
actually,
some point.
like- But was he? Was he as scantily clad though? Did we like?
I think they gave him pants. So
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, I gotta say, I've always thought Guy Gardner is a little too macho. I think he's like, compensating. I've always thought that.
maybe.
Well,
Unfortunately, I could not find any evidence of any of the men wearing the pink scantily clad outfit. What? So, next year's Pride, just saying.
yeah.
Hope you get to draw.
Yeah, I hope so. And you can dodge this question next year by being like, you know what? I don't read recent comments. I don't know who is out and queer already.
Did I tell you guys last time? Did I tell you guys about Steve Orlando agreeing with me that alternate universe Lobo is like
I feel like you did, but because we
We
were
definitely
talking
talked about Lobo for a long time.
we had this whole
last year.
conversation about Lobo because we were talking about who in the DCU or do in the DC universe eats pussy. We talked about
was that why we were
Was
talking about it? That's funny.
Someone said he wore a chastity that
Yeah,
had like
so I
spikes
told-
on it.
It was you. I know it was
yeah,
you.
it was they're facing inside. But I got Steve to admit that I'm correct on this. So
Oh, I love that.
at some point this will happen. Still,
Love
That's so good.
still
That's
ringing
so
that bell.
Lobo.
but, like,
Here we go.
I can't for me, I can't see him. I know like it's the same thing, all that bombast. I don't really see him as like why am I going to say normal? What's normal? Like
Yeah. Ooh.
he doesn't have a typically calibrated sexual appetite. Let's put it that way. So I think he's more
He's
in the
kinky.
omnivorous.
What you're saying is he's kinky.
I think he's definitely, but
Okay, so he is like poly, pan, and kinky as hell, huh?
yeah, that's the word. Yeah. I
Yes.
think yeah. But he's definitely a sub, 100%.
Yeah. Lobo is the one that's like out there at the DC Pride going, kink belongs at Pride.
Yeah, we need that. It's important.
Yeah, that's him.
Do you have any queer media you're enjoying that you would want to recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, I've been enjoying watching some movies recently. The Five Devils by Layne, I think. It came out in 2012. Sorry, 2022. What year is it?
I don't know. I don't know either.
Like a little girl who's kind of like ostracized from the small like majority white community she lives in France, and like she concocts these kind of scent potions that connect her present to the mysterious aunt or her mysterious aunt's like past. Really cool. The supernatural stuff is very lovely and I think works on its own, but you can also read the whole thing kind of as a metaphor about like shared and culturally inherited trauma and connection between that sort of stuff. And it's beautiful. It's really well done. I caught a double feature of it with John Waters' Desperate Living, and like I'm not going to recommend double featuring it that way, but if you want like chaotic whiplash, that's a great night. And The Attachment Diaries, 2021, I think, but I saw it in theaters recently. It's by Javier, Valentin Javier Dimon, I think, and it's a melodrama about like a repressed gynecologist and her very complicated patient. As like a really unique vibe where it's kind of like pulpy be gay do crimes, but also very serious and thoughtful character study. The interior design is to die for, so if you can catch
That sounds amazing.
I just want to plug Criterion channel. I got rid of everything but that. And they for this month they curated a series of movies about trans mask people. That's really cool. Earlier or late last year, I watched a movie called France that was I loved a lot. It was about a soldier in World War one or two. I'm bad with time, I'm sorry. But he left his fiancée to fight in France, and the guy he may or may not have been intimate with, he was intimate with him, comes back and was gonna tell the fiance what happened, but when he sees how precarious things are for her and how dangerous it would be for her to have that information, he decides not to tell her, and like
Mm.
the sort of fallout of that, and like the fallout of like what happens when you both love someone, like can that love cross over? Like it was really, I thought it was really excellent and beautiful. A lot of people on Letterboxd seem to have missed that the dead soldier was definitely gay.
Hmm.
So it might need paying attention to. I don't know, but those were both really good movies.
Well, we
And
just assume everybody's gay, so that usually helps.
yeah, it does help. And weirdly, I finally finished reading Don Quixote after a year. It's a big fucking book.
It is. That's huge.
Dude, I hadn't do you know it's all about self transformation, self definition, and things like that. There's like tons of gender fuckery in that book. Like, I don't know why nobody ever talks about this.
Well,
Like
that's cool.
it's really, really cool. There's like, clearly asexual women. There's women like that give beautiful speeches about ownership of their bodies. There's like Don Quixote fights for the rights of children to cross dress. Like the
Ooh,
book is fucking bananas. I had no idea. So
that's so cool.
apparently we knew 500 years ago.
Hayden, how about you? Any queer media to shout out?
I'm drawing such a blank of like things I've even been like consuming lately. But the one thing that is coming to mind though is in a couple of days was it Star Trek Strange New Worlds comes back, and I'm just a huge Trek fan. So I will kind of tangentially use this moment to shout out a different Trek character from a different show that ended up being pretty important to me. Was it in Discovery, the character Adira?
Yeah.
The non-binary trail, yeah, like they like were the means through which I could explain my non-binariness to specifically my dad, because he and I have always bonded over Trek, and being
so
able to like
cool.
have that representation to point to and be like, remember the Trill character, like, and how they want to be called by them for like these reasons, and like my dad instantly the light going, like I could see it in his eyes, like, oh, he gets it, he gets it.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
oh my god.
So like modern Trek has been killing it lately. So I'm really excited for Strange New Worlds to come.
We're getting the lower decks bisexuals in Strange New Worlds, so I'm excited.
Oh my god. You know what? I'm catching up on Lower Decks right now too.
It's so good.
Such a good show. Yeah.
Oh my god.
They're killing it.
Andrew, how about you?
Yeah.
I have recently been reading Grant Morrison's Luda, which is this novel that's set in a fictional Glasgow called Gas Glow. And it's, how do I describe it? It's like a drag queen magic battle, which has like a lot of talk about identity and self-reflection and like, how we define ourselves and define each other. It's really, really trippy. Probably most everyone's listening to this has read Grant Morrison stuff. This is like Grant dialed up to like 5,000 because it's just pure words and painting with words. And it's super duper wonderful and trippy. So yeah, I recommend that. Apart from that, I just finished reading Kieran Gillen and I think Stephanie Hans's Die, which is like it's a great book from Image. I think it's finished already. It's just it's only 4 volumes, and it's Goth Jumanji, where these kids play a role-playing game and then they fall into the world of that.
Oh my god, that sounds so fun.
There's a lot of queerness in it, and there's a lot of like there is a male character who plays a female character, and that becomes like a really pointed metaphor for like exploring like a lot of trans identity and stuff like that. It's really cool, so check that out if you haven't read it.
Oh my god, yeah, I'm in.
Please, yeah. I just watched one of the newer Jumanji movies last night. So that's where my mind went. Anyway, that sounds great.
That does.
I love Jumanji, just not the new ones.
So now we have our final silly question of the night, which is if you could pick any character from the DC Pride anthology to take with you to Pride, who would you take with you and why?
Can't be your own story.
Yeah, it can't be your own story. Pick somebody else, but pull them out of the comic and take them to a Pride parade or a party with you.
Well, Andrew's work with Xanthi and Kate Kane was pretty awesome. Like all, again, all of your like nuance with the body language between those two seemed really fun. So it kind of sold me on both those characters. I'm not sure they'd be fun at Pride. Kate's a little, brooding and stuff, but I can be brooding too. But I don't know. Crush also seemed like she'd be a good time at Pride.
Yeah. Oh,
I like how you looked at the horny story and you were like, I want both of them. I respect that.
I do too.
I would go with Bunker from Teen Titans, probably.
Yeah.
So fun. They're one of the few characters with this like deeply uncomplicated like backstory. They came out as a teenager and they also realized they had powers, and then the whole town accepted them.
Yeah.
And then he
Love
decided to become a superhero. So
You're so right.
Yeah, and plus, with all the brick generation powers and all that stuff, it's probably gonna be like we're probably gonna get a 6th spot watching the Pride Parade.
You build your own little stage to watch.
For like, placement.
Oh my God, he would make a 6 float for Pride too with his powers. He
That's
would.
true. We could make the whole float.
As soon as you said his name, I was like, oh, he wasn't this. Barely.
I know. You slid it under the wire. He appears in a pin-up. Hayden, how about you?
This might be a bit of a cheat, but I would absolutely take vacation mode Harley and Ivy. Like, clearly at their best, just kind of relaxing with nothing to worry about. So yeah, a dynamic duo.
Yeah, you just have to be prepared to be kidnapped during Pride because Harley does that, apparently.
Apparently, but Parade would probably go on like twice as long for some reason. Like traffic
She's
would
like,
be
it's not over. We're not stopping.
Yeah, exactly. It'd go on for like 4 days, and Ivy would just be there the whole time to be like, "Yay, good job, pat pat," and like you could just be there like, "Yay."
It's so true. Somebody on Twitter made the comment that the Pride parades in Gotham are the safest Gotham ever is because all the villains are there to celebrate. So they're all gay. They're like literally all gay.
What about you, Marissa? Who would you take to Pride?
I have to rethink it because somebody was thinking along the same lines, Hayden.
Cool.
that was
steal an
Paulina's
answer.
story, right? And Baby Makes 3 with Crush and Ivy, and I was gonna. It's like because that looked fun. I was like tropical. I was like that looks like a good time. I'll take a mulligan.
Take them
and
all.
just shout
That's
out
fair.
Paulina because she's amazing and she's a great artist, and I'm
Yeah.
glad more people are seeing her work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing. Well, I'm just like, that was the horniest story with Xanthi and Batwoman. I'm sorry, I forgot about the Ghostmaker and Cat.
I was
Batman
gonna
story.
say
That was
Sorry.
that was the horniest story. That's the
Sorry.
story where
That's
people
who I'm
bang.
taking to Pride.
that wins.
Right, yeah. But thank you to all of you for contributing to the horniest DC Pride yet.
Yes.
Will be topped one day. No pun intended. Yes. So on that note, we're going to ask you all where our listeners can find you online, if they can find you online, and if you have any projects you would like to plug that they should be looking out for.
Yeah, I've got a few pages in the Poison Ivy number 13 in stores now, among a very intimidating lineup of all of your more favorite Gotham City artists. Other than that, if you like my work with Circuit Breaker and want more comics about genderqueer weirdos channeling incomprehensible forces through their bodies to somewhat unintentional effect, I can check out my webcomic Full Spectrum Therapy. It's 10 chapters, it's finished, and it's on, I think it's on Tapas right now. Yeah, and if you want to find me online, I post art and occasional flower or cat photos on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at ALK Comics, and professional updates at alkcomics.com.
Hayden, how about you?
You can find me at Cleanlined for both Twitter and Instagram, and upcoming things in July and August. I have Harley Quinn Night Terrors issues 1 and 2, which really excited about. Those are my first full issue things I've gotten to do at DC, and they, oh
That's
my
so
gosh,
cool.
Tinny Howard, who wrote the whole thing, it was a an amusement park of a comic to draw. So I really hope people will enjoy that. And past that, let's see here, Scott Snyder and I made a book called Dark Spaces Wildfire last year, and we're working on the follow-up to that right now.
That's so cool.
Yeah, indeterminate to be announced time, but that's the thing that's currently in progress.
Awesome. Marissa, how about you?
Thank you for buying me time to look it up.
Here to help.
So I have Star Trek Defiant coming out through IDW regularly, and we're doing crossover Day of Blood. This is all very violent, very standard Trek stuff. I started working on 3 Worlds, 3 Moons, some short stories. I did some stuff for the New York City. I did another round of things for New York City school district, that if you live in Philadelphia, I sometimes drop copies off for free over at Atomic Comics. And
Wow.
that is these ones are themed about a lot of the heroes for gay rights and racial justice. So I just occasionally drop those off for fun. Did Power Girl
Yes.
with Marguerite Savage. I think that's that's everything I did.
Every time we talk to you, I'm like, I'm so tired just hearing the list of things you're working on. Marissa. I don't
There's
know
just
how you
stuff I could say. It's very confusing.
Wow,
you
you are booked and busy.
Yeah, that's why I'm not reading anything.
I know, you don't have time.
Oh, I mean, I've almost beaten Elden Ring, so there's some time in there somewhere.
Oh wow, congrats.
As you should.
It took me a long time, but I finally got the hang of Melania. I did it.
I love it.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm not checking it as much as I used to because things. So
it's a dumpster fire. Yeah.
that may be the end of social media for me. People may have to start calling me. Like that. I'm not gonna give out my phone number. You can ask me privately for that. But my Twitter is Marissa Draws.
Yeah. And Andrew, how about you?
I just started a new series. It's just a short 3-issue series. It's called Secret Heart Attack. And it's this sort of like meta comic about a cartoonist growing up in the Philippines, crossed with like a superhero crossover thing. So the first issue's already out. It's on my website. And apart from that, I'm starting work on my 3rd DC project this week.
Woo!
Woohoo! Yeah, I'm super happy about it. I can't talk about it yet, I think, because it hasn't been announced. So, but it should be out later this year. Yeah, you can find me on social media, Andrew Drilon, on Instagram and Twitter. And I have a YouTube channel, comicbooker, which is mostly live streams of me drawing and blabbering. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, come hang out with me if you want to like have someone to draw with. So yeah.
Hey.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, this was so much fun. It was a blast having you all.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I'm a little bit in love with all of you.
Yeah, same.
After this conversation.
Honestly.
A little bit.
And if any of you ever want to come back on, talk about a Gotham book with us, we would love that. So
yeah, anytime.
In a heartbeat. This has been a joy.
Thank you so all.
Thank you for listening to the Gotham Outsiders. You can find me, Chris, on Twitter at The Myth of Psyche, where I talk about feminism, psychology, and Batman, of course. But you can also find me on my new show at Thirsty Untune over on the Talking Comics feed, where Bronwyn and I review webtoons and drink wine and also review romance novels. You can also find me writing reviews at talkingcomics.com, and I am now accepting consulting clients. So if you need someone to do sensitivity reading or consult on psychology or queer identity, I'm your person. You can also find my co-host TJ
at Troyfin2 on Twitter, where I talk about books, gay things, gay books, and all sorts of things, including Batman pretty often, way more than I used to. And I recently became an official librarian, so you can find all sorts of book reviews that I post just for fun, a lot of advanced reviews of books that haven't come out yet. So if you're looking for a nice gay read, please hit me up. You could also find me talking on other podcasts just here and there if you search my name on any podcast service provider that you listen to.
And you can find us both talking about Batman all the time at the Gotham Outsiders. So join us next time. Same bat time, same bat place.